Can I let you go? Ooh, let's just pull you closer. Ooh, I can't understand where it came from, but you got it, I got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip has pulled you into me. When I let you go, it just pulled you closer. It's a long departure. It's a long departure. Before I see you again, before it all makes sense, but I can't hold you back. And I still don't understand where it came from, but you're back in with the passion. I'm awake with the flame in a hailstorm. I'm back in, I gotta have it. Everything to do with what you give to me. Loosening my grip has pulled you into me. When I let you go, it just pulled you closer. It's a long departure. It's a long departure.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Simulation Racing Leagues TCR series. We are here at the beautiful Okayama circuit in Japan, and my god, we are in for one hell of a night. I've been in the session since it opened and it's closer than ever. Honestly, we say it every single week, it's never ever going to get closer, but coming off what was an incredibly eventful round at Nürburgring, it's going to be more of the same here at Okayama this evening. I'm on my own. I'm not joined by Jack John, sadly, tonight, but I will do my very best to keep up with the action. And believe me, the way these guys are going, it's going to be incredibly tricky. I have made one very slight change to the overlay, hopefully to aid your viewing pleasure, I should say. So in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you can now see we do have car images. So they're not the brightest things in the world. I will try and sort that out as the season wears on, but it's now hopefully slightly who is who, pretty much. Because obviously these guys are always nose to tail absolutely everywhere we go. And if we've got a pack of sort of 6-7 cars with these driver images, hopefully you can pick out who you want to. Just swapped over to the qualifying session now, as you can see up in the top left-hand corner of your screen. 10-minute qualifying. They do get 3 laps, all 10 minutes, whichever comes first. 9 times out of 10, it is the laps that the drivers, do complete. Scott Duffy has just taken to the circuit as well, and speaking of which, of course, we've seen Scott have a few rough rides here and there. He's had an incredibly strong season 1, and the start of his season 2 really hasn't gone to plan, I'm afraid. He's had a few little offs here and there and been caught up in some unlucky incidents, but let's hope that tonight he finds a new stroke of good luck and really does start to get the bit between his teeth. On the back straight, you can see him weaving from left to right, getting some heat in the front tyres, and while doing so, a bit of oversteer, heating up those rears as well. Who else do we have out on circuit? Lee Dye, privateer entry in one of the old British touring car liveries, one of the old Andrew Jordan chrome Ford Focus-esque liveries on his Audi. He finished 3rd in Heat 1 last time out, so definitely potential for more podiums and, of course, more points for Lee this evening. And while we're on the subject, of course, of this evening, here at Okayama, it is no stranger to really close racing. It still holds actively a round of the Super GT series, so it's almost an Asian or Japanese-based series where they use it's almost DTM cars crashed into GT cars. Very high power, very high downforce. Really incredible pieces of machinery. And they actively come here to Okayama. Previously, it has held rounds of the World Touring Car Championship, so very similar machinery to what we're seeing out on circuit tonight. And I think it was 2 years it held the Pacific GP, so 2 Formula 1 rounds. So it's definitely got that racing pedigree, and we'll look forward to seeing how it copes with how many cars do we have out on circuit this evening. We've got about 20 cars, probably just under, ready to take to the Japac, and Japanese tarmac in iRacing at least is very well renowned for being quite slippery, so there'll be lots of oversteer, I'm assuming, and when the tyres start to bleed away and the fuel comes out of the rear, possibly a bit of understeer as well, because you'll have all that weight over the front, which most of the time you'd want, so you can get that front turned in, but it almost works in the opposite, and you can wear these tyres down and get lots and lots of understeer, especially on power. So let's hope that that doesn't affect any of the drivers too bad this evening. Of course, we do have 2 heats on the way. Heat 1 being a 20-minute heat race, as well as the feature race. Another 20 minutes of action just after a short break. Sorry about the connection issues we're having. There's nothing much I can really do about that now we're on the fly. I'll see what I can sort in the meantime, but it's one of those things I think we might have to put up with a slightly jittery stream throughout the evening. Craig Walters posting the first time of the session on 147.783, puts him up at provisional pole. We will see who else we can find. Slowly starting to set times. David Smith is heading towards the line, so is Carl Lukeman, so is Al Brown. Lots of drivers ready to post times. Neil Stevenson goes provisional pole, 1:37.934. So a good lap from himself. You can see Scott Tuffy there, 1/4 of a second back from Neil Stevenson. And now look at that, that's Mark Draper to provisional pole. 1:37.886 posted. 1/2 a tenth clear of Neil Stevenson. So not a bad lap from himself. We'll have a look elsewhere. Tom Stanley currently sat in provisional P7, a second off the pole time, make that provisional P8, and he had a good feature race last time out, finishing in 3rd, so podium and some good points for himself at Nürburgring at round 5. We'll see who else we've got coming towards the line. Craig Walters, through the final corner we go. He's set his banker lap. Let's see what he can do, pushing the limits there, using all of the track and a bit more, heading on to what will be his final timed lap. Crosses the line now. Does he improve? If so, how much? He does, a 139.010, so not quite breaking into that 138 barrier. Provisional P10 at the moment. And that was quite a slidey way through turn 1, so, well, it looks good. I'm sure it isn't very quick. You can see at the bottom there, Scott Tuffy improving and improving to pole, a 137.796 in the number 21 machine. Mark Draper improves further. Who else have we got? Trading purple sectors up at the top are Scott Tuffy, Mark Draper, and Neil Stevenson. Mark Draper does go fastest, a 137.570, incredibly quick time from himself. Puts him a quarter of a second clear of Scott Tuffy. We'll have a look back at Dan Mould. He's heading through the final corner now. Of course, championship leader, reigning champion, and didn't really have that great of a round at Nürburgring, only picking up 1 podium, which is very surprising for Dan. Gets purple in the final sector. If that's going to be an improvement, it should put him top 3, although I think that lap might have been invalidated. It does not count. Derek Pocock up into the top 3, however, 137.882 for the privateer entry. So at the moment, it's an SRL car on pole, and then 2 privateers back from that. So it's nice to see the privateers are fighting back against the team drivers. See how Derek Crowther's getting on. That car sounding very flat out of there, possibly in a gear too high maybe. Then it starts to spool up, the turbo kicks in, and the 4-cylinder 2-litre engine producing around about 350 horsepower charges his way down the back straight, which isn't massively straight to be honest. Into the hairpin now. Hard on the brakes, down through the gearbox. And then over the rise, almost a blind left-hander. You only see it until you're pretty much committed to turning in. Got to be careful not to run wide. Scott Tuffy improves, a 137.636, and Neil Stevenson improves as well, a 137.816, but not enough for pole. 600ths away is Scott, but he's not quite there. Now we're seeing the times get posted. Lee Dye up to P4 with a 137. Reed Garton, Stanley and Malcolm all improving in the 138s. You can see there it's John Brown improving, 138.249, sat in provisional P10. Dan Mould, I do want to keep an eye on Dan to see how he's getting on. Have a look in a second. I would imagine he's coming towards the line now. He is indeed. So currently in P11, 138.34 was the last time through. He does improve, a 137.861, but he's only in 5th place. Not what we'd expect from our reigning champion. Callum Reed Garton setting personal bests in sectors 1, 2, 3, and I think 4 was on the lap prior. Craig Walters heading around the final corner now. Does he improve upon his time? 1.2 seconds to make up to grab pole. But you can see there, even if he just takes 0.6 off, that's going to chuck him up into the top 10. Crosses the line now. Does he improve upon his time? Is that an even a time posted? No, it is not. So he has completed his qualifying session. Callum Reed Garton heading through the final couple of corners now. He has set personal best sectors 1, 2 and 3, like I said. Now in sector 4. Car looks incredibly balanced through there. On the edge, however, as well. Through the final corner we go, nice and smooth. Keeps it on the track. Charging towards the line now. Just over half a second away from pole. Does he improve upon his time? If so, by how much? To pole position goes Callum Reed Garton at 137.332 posted. A quarter of a second clear of Mark Draper. We've got to remember that Season 1, Round 1 was won by Callum Reed Garton. An incredibly quick driver is Callum. He was championship hopeful in Season 1 until outside commitments sadly took over, of course. That's what you've got to respect. But that is a great lap for himself. Everybody was tussling for half a tenth. And CRG goes and puts it on pole. There's no driver out on circuit that can beat him anymore. This lap is going to be timed for Callum. If he gets to the line, that is. We've still got 30 seconds until the session subsides, and he will not get to the line. So I do not think he will get another lap. If it was open qualifying, he would be allowed to complete a lap. However, because it is closed, I think the standard iRacing rules do not permit you to complete a lap, so he's only going to be about 20 seconds shy of that checkered flag. 10-minute cross now, and they go straight into Heat 1 we go. So let's have a look at our grid, our first grid I should say, for this evening. Callum Reid-Garton puts it on pole with a 137.332. He's got Mark Draper for company on the first row of the grid. Row 2 is Scott Tuffy and Neil Stevenson. 5th and 6th is Lee Dye and Dan Mould. Row 4 is Derek Pocock and Tom Stanley, and Scott Malcolm and Carl Lickman round out your top 10. Then it's John Brown in 11th and Derek Crowther in 12th. Then down another couple of rows, we've got Anthony Gaskin in 13th, Fraser Garrity in 14th, Craig Walters in 15th, Al Brown in 16th, and then we do have David Smith and Stuart Gibbons 17th and 18th, and I do think we are already about to go racing. We are indeed. There we go. So we go green here at Okayama for round 6 of the championship, the first race of the night. Callum Reid-Garton is under pressure here from Scott Tuffy. It's been a great start for him all the way around the outside, 3 wide in towards turn 1. There's contact in the background. We'll see if somebody's off. Yeah, that's one of the Browns that has gone off, and another driver joins him in the gravel trap, but it's still CRG up at the front. Let's see what happened there. So it was Scott Malcolm and John Brown came together at the start. And then it's an absolute train of cars heading through Sector 2. Very close there between Neil Stevenson and Scott Tuffy. And you can see then there's about 2-second break back to Craig Walters, who has Anthony Gaskin, Al Brown, Derek Crowther, Fraser Garrity, Carl Lukerman, Derek Pocock, Stuart Gibbons and David Smith all chasing him down. Back up to the front we go though. Look at this draft fest. Neil Stevenson looking at the inside of Scott Tuffy. Is he going to break later? Yes, he is. And I think that position is going to be somewhat secured come the exit of the corner. The inside will turn into the outside, however, so Scott Tuffy does decide that time just to let Stevenson take that position. Lee Dye is now looking at making inroads in that 007 machine. Dan Mould sat there in 6th place, not managing to pick anybody off at the start. Al Brown up 6 places. So a great start from him. He's trying to make it 7 up the inside of Anthony Gaskin. It goes. Once again, the inside does evolve into the outside. He's giving it a good go around the outside though. Can he keep it? Almost gets run out of road. Looks for the cutback, and you can see that now. Derek Crowther is trying to get in on that, seeing what he can get from the scraps. Back up to the front though. It's CRG crossing the line now. So 1 rotation of the circuit complete. Mark Draper still sat there in 2nd. Neil Stevenson in 3rd. We saw him snatch that off Scott Tuffy on the lap right. Look at this now. Dan Mould late on the brakes up the inside of Lee Dye. 1 car's gone through. Tom Stanley is trying to follow down through. Can't quite get through that time. We'll head back to Craig Walters. You can see he's managed to gap Anthony Gaskin after getting that overtake done. And it has really, really worked for him. However, I think Scott Tuffy has had a bit of bad luck. Yes, he has. That's such a shame for Scott. An odd incident there. I think he might have had a bit of help there. To find yourself sideways through that corner, you've got to be going at it hell for leather. Wow, that's a very odd incident there for Scott. We'll have a little listen on board. What happens? I think I think that is just turning in with no power on. So the car goes light. Around he goes, sat right the way down into 27th, in 17th place at the moment, having just lost out to John Brown, who's busy trying to get past Stuart Gibbons. And we've got a 3.1 second gap up to David Smith, who's somewhat in a world of his own. Closest cars we've got on circuit are this trio: Anthony Gaskin, Al Brown, and Derek Crowther. And I think Al Brown might have lost out there because I thought he was in front of Anthony Gaskin on the lap prior, but he has evidently made a little bit of a mistake, lost that position once again. Well, here is Al Brown now, looking to try and get past Anthony once again, trying to fend off the attentions of the 113 behind. That's Derek Crowther looking to the inside. Is he going to be later on the brakes? No, he decides that time's through. I don't think there was contact, but Al Brown goes skittering off the circuit. We'll have a listen on boards. Well, it would have been nice if we could. We'll give it another go. So let's see, is there contact? It almost looks like there is. We'll have a look from the back. And yes, there is. It's the slightest of touches, just enough to unsettle the car. He goes rattling over the curbs. a bit of gravel picked up in the process, and he does lose out to Derek Pocock. And indeed, Carl Lukeman. So not a great come out of that for Al Brown. Stuart Gibbons now in the background. You can see he's really under pressure from Fraser Garrity. He's actually managed to get past Fraser, who has got heavy damage on that car. Let's see what happened. Wing Mirror has decided to part ways with that. That is the number 9 machine of Derek Pocock, and fires Garrity towards the wall. And then I think that might be steering damaged as well. We'll have a look. That car is... no, it's not quite tracking straight, so I think that will be a black and orange warning flag. Make sure that car returns to the pit lane. Up the road, however, here is Derek Pocock, under pressure now from Al Brown. Carl Lukeman has got a bit of damage on the front of his Audi RS3. We'll see when the camera swaps around to the front. Tom Stanley with the fastest lap of the race, a 1:37.678. Look at the front of Carl Lukeman's car. Looking very second-hand. Look in the background, however, Al Brown up the inside. Actually, no, I think he's trying to fend off David Smith. Of course, the pair of them being SRL teammates. And Carl Lukeman, he's just lost out there. I think that damage is really starting to cost him in a straight line. Derek Pocock goes by like it's nothing, up into 10th place now. The lead battle's getting closer and closer and closer. Mark Draper really starting to get hot on the heels of Callum Reid-Garton. And inadvertently, I think he's bringing Neil Stevenson with him. There is Neil. Not too far back. We'll pick Draper. He's the one in the middle. We'll see whether we can pick up a slightly wider camera angle so you can see the whole battle. It's almost turning from a trio into, I'm not 100% sure what 5 is, but it's pretty much 5 for the lead now. Tom Stanley sat there in 5th, then Stan Mould, then it's Neil Stevenson, then it's Mark Draper, and then we've got Cal Reid-Garton up at the front. Change of position further back. This is the SRL teammates, and it's Carl Lukeman nearly losing out once again. That damage really starting to cost him as well. Hangs it on around the outside, does the SRL driver. However, he does have 2 of his stablemates just behind, and now we'll see the difference. Of course, Carl Lukeman, does he pull over? I think he knows he is the slower car at this point. Almost cuts off the nose of David Smith, works his way in between. But it's Al Brown now in 11th place. I think he had a bit of contact somewhere around, possibly these two going at it. Scott Tuffy trying to recover up through the field, maybe a bit of contact there with Stuart Gibbons. Stuart on the inside, and that's Scott Tuffy all the way around the outside. Great stuff from Scott. Up another position into 14th place. That has left Stuart vulnerable to John Brown. John Brown carries the superior momentum around the outside. He's got the draft assistance of Tuffy in front, and that leaves Gibbo without much to do in the way of defence. Carl Lukeman dropping back yet another position. David Smith manages to work his way by. Scott Tuffy will be the next car to try and pick off the SRL driver. Back at the front though, look how close that lead battle is. Only 3.5 tenths separating Callum Reid-Garton and Mark Draper. So not much in it. We'll have a look back to Craig Walters now, battling with Lee Dye. The pair of them 2 scapegoats at this point. They've got a 3.6 second gap behind and a 3.3 second gap in front. So if they are in communication, which I'm sure they are, I would hope that they're just going to work together at this point, because there's really no need to battle if they start just helping each other around. If Craig says, I'm not going to battle, I don't want to go for this move, you can somewhat work through the air as one and hopefully pick up a few seconds here and there on that lead battle. And Carl Lukeman once again losing out yet another position. Scott Tuffy just goes screaming by. I don't remember seeing Carl Lukeman have an incident, so we'll see what happens. Here we go. This is the one and only incident, so you can see him in the middle there. And is that where we saw the damage? Yes, I think it is. Just managed to tap the tail end of Derek Pocock, And yeah, that is where all of the damage arrived on the front of Carl Lukeman's car. We'll check the steering. Everything is somewhat still tracking straight, so there's definitely not an issue. Back up to this battle, though, you can see Anthony Gaskin now getting passed by Derek Crowther almost. A pair of them still side by side, trading places on the timing tower. Is either of them going to subside into here? Yes. Anthony Gaskin decides that is not going to, that's not going to work through there. Carl Lukeman nearly losing another position there to John Brown. And they're still side by side once again. So through both the tight left-handers, they've managed to stay side by side. Another left-hander on the way. So Carl Lukeman, he's had all the opportunities to stay there on the inside, but once again, another position lost for that number 3 machine. He's only going backwards at this point. Stuart Gibbons, only 8 tenths back. He will probably be picking him off in a few sectors' time. You can see Carl Lukeman not 100% happy with losing that place. He's doing everything he can, trying to fight back past John Brown, but nothing is really working at this point. Anthony Gaskin and Derek Crowther have slowed each other down a little too much because Derek Pocock is trying to get in. Of course, we've seen Derek sideways and we've seen him in a few little battles. Carl looks remarkably clean and he's still in the top 10. If he plays his cards right, he could pick up P8 here. Up to the front there, there's still 5 for the lead. Callum Reed-Garton still in first with Mark Draper second. Neil Stevenson in third up 1 position. Dan Mould in fourth up 2. Tom Stanley in 5th up 3 places. So good stuff from this top 5 so far. Halfway through the race now. Only 9 minutes of the race remaining. And it looks like Callum Reed-Garton, he's either just driving at that point where if Mark Draper is going to go for a move, it will have to be a very, very late move. It'll have to be on the brakes or something like that because he can't quite pick up the time he needs in the draft. It's like Callum is quick where he needs to be. And that's what you need to do when you are in the lead. He does almost have the help from his Ignium Motorsport teammate, Dan Mould, sat there knocking on the door of a podium. Neil Stevenson separating Dan and Mark. Of course, we saw Dan and Mark battling at Nürburgring as Dan was trying to work his way up through the order. Still the number 22 leading the way. In the background, we've got Derek Pocock and Anthony Gaskin once again battling away. I think Derek might just have him on the brakes in towards turn 1. He does have the inside, but no, Anthony carries the momentum. He's got to be careful not to run wide on the exit. Washes wide a little bit. Pocock is still there on his outside. And now Derek has got to make sure he doesn't wash wide. He does have a bit of curb to use as well. He'll have the inside for the next 2. And then on the brakes we go. And that inside has got him that place. But now, more importantly, it's Anthony Gaskin's position to gain back. He will have this draft assistance all the way down the straight and in towards the hairpin. We'll see what he can do on the brakes, whether it is that time where we need to start seeing some decisive moves on the brake. He jinks out to the right-hand side, jumps on the brakes, considers tucking back in, but that position is not going to change at all this lap. Carl Lukeman, there you go, Stuart Gibbons managing to almost work his way past, and I think Carl is going to, no, I thought he was going to subside into this left-hander, but decides he wants to hang on to that 15th place for the moment. But I think it's there's only one way this story is going to end, and it's going to be Lukeman going back yet another place into 16th because Gibbo is sat there trying to get past. Here is Scott Tuffy, side by side with Al Brown just about, and there you go, up another place for Scott. Is Al going to get the cut back? Not that time through. And Scott Tuffy up into 11th place, a good comeback drive for himself so far. He does have a train of cars behind him, 2 of which being SRL cars. Neil Stevenson, he can no longer really focus on Mark Draper because his rear view mirror is full of Dan Mould, and so is his rear bumper by the looks of that. A little bit of a nudge there on the apex. Dan Mould just letting Neil know that he's there. He will have the draft assistance as well down the straight. Tom Stanley could really profit from this because while the pair of them are battling, they might just almost forget that Tom's there and he can go through, sweep through the same gap as Dan Mould, or just wait for them to make another bit of contact and see what he can do. But Dan Mould, he was on the inside, he's now on the outside, he will be on the outside again, too wide through there. He's incredibly brave. Dan Mould, can he hang on all the way around the outside? He gives it a go. And he is in front on the timing, looks to cut back across, and Neil Stevenson can't really do much in the way of defending that one. Dan Mould safely up into the podium, places a big lunge up the inside for Tom Stanley, makes contact with Neil Stevenson. It was very late from Tom. I think Neil Stevenson wasn't quite expecting that. Of course, he'd already somewhat committed to turning in, and Tom more or less appeared. Here is Derek Pocock now. He's managed to shake off the attentions of Anthony Gaskin, and he's going after Derek Crowther. So it's privateer versus privateer. Number 9 versus number 113. Onto the start-finish straight we go. Going on to lap number 10 for these guys now. You can see that's Derek Crowther chopping and changing his line, trying to decide which line he goes for. He goes for the defensive one in towards turn 1. Derek Pocock reads the situation beautifully, carries the superior momentum, and up the inside, up into P8 goes Derek Pocock. Derek Crowther now down into P9. The lead battle is one of the closest we've got on circuit, because all this battling going on behind between Dan Mould and Neil Stevenson, while that lasted, it has really allowed Mark Draper to open the taps on Callum Reid-Garton. Has a big look, and I think he did his very best to avoid contact there. Mark Draper, well done, sir. He was very close to making contact. I think there was a bit of a scuff, but it would have been even more so. He decided at that point, instead of making heavy contact, he would rather throw away that podium just to make sure that Cal can keep that that lead. It's not the way Mark wanted to overtake. We'll have another little look back at that. You can see Mark on the brakes. There, the nose drops down, and then he's already slightly loose, and then just tags the tail end of Callum Reid-Garton. And gravel bound is Mark. Does slow it down quite nicely. A little bit of tarmac there just to help the car get slowed down. We've had an incident for David Smith, so much so that he has returned to the pit lane. So let's see what has happened to David. He pulls over to the right hand side of the circuit, and that car is destined for retirement. So let's see what happened here. He does have which Brown is that? That's not Al Brown. You can see, does he just, I was looking over at the timing when he did that. I think that is, yeah, front right suspension broken. Through there we go, and yeah, it just touches the grass. A very, very big hit into the tyres, and that's just enough to break that right front suspension. You can see there's no way that he's going to get that car around. It was John Brown at the time. He does return to the circuit, does David Smith, after picking up a repair, and does continue on. Now the Browns are going at it. Al Brown and John Brown, very similarly paced. We've seen them battle a few rounds at the start of the season. And now John Brown doesn't have David Smith in the way, so it's one SRL car down, just one more to go now. Tries to carry the better momentum through. Can't quite get that move done there. Here is Tom Stanley under pressure from Mark Draper. Of course, Mark trying to make amends for that previous incident. And Dan Mould sat with his teammate. If they can stay like this, it's going to be a good night for Ignium Motorsport. A good Heat 1 indeed. Andy Lovesey isn't here this evening. He's not in attendance. I think he had outside commitments. And once again, the Browns still nose to tail. Al Brown slows down very slightly on the apex, which I think might just give John Brown a slightly better run down the straight. He does have the draft. Al Brown going defensive, so he definitely knows John Brown is a threat. But that time through, the position does stay as is. Gibbo has had a crash. Let's see what has happened to Stewart. Through the left-hander we go. I think he just goes too hot into the corner, and that leaves him on the grass. Grabs a gear and gets going again with no traffic to worry about. David Smith has had another incident. Let's see what happened here. That's after the hairpin, I think. Yeah, so into the hairpin we go. On the brakes, goes a little too hot in. Can't quite get the car slowed down. On the grass, and just the car over-rotates, and then left stationary on the side of the road. Back to Al Brown we go. You can see Al really feeling the pressure of John Brown. John was looking to the outside and the inside, couldn't quite make either of them work. Craig Walters, I think, has just had to defend for his life from Lee Dye. No, he's managed to get past, has Craig. Let's see what happened. Let's see how the overtake was made. Oh, that is David Smith towards the wall. A bit of a helping hand there from Lee Dye, which takes all the momentum out of his car and leaves Craig there to pick up the position. So, no, still in reverse is David. Let's have another look back. So I think, yeah, he's just very slow through there, trying to get out of the way, and Lee Dye couldn't react in time, really. The car in front was just slightly slower than he was expecting. On the final lap of the race now for the leaders. Callum Reid-Garton leading the way. Dan Mould up 8 positions. Tom Stanley up 5. Oh, Dan Mould, sorry, up 4 positions. Tom Stanley up 5. Mark Draper only 6/10 back, but that's a little too far, I think, for this final lap. We'll keep an eye up on the leader because nobody's really closer than the Browns at the moment. They are nose to tail, but I think it's just going to land at the point when, as soon as we see the change of position, the leaders will cross the line. You can see them chopping and changing, just trying to see which line will work. John Brown will have the slipstream. Scott Tuffy and Anthony Gaskin have just traded places into the braking zone. So will the Browns do the same? Here is John Brown on the outside. Al Brown is wise to the move, does hug that inside line. John's giving it a good go around the inside. Al runs him out of road. Good stuff between the pair of them. Craig Walters and Lee Dye still battling away. But Callum Reid-Garton through the final corner we go. Onto the start-finish straight. 13 laps completed, and he does take heat 1 of the night. So top step of the podium for Callum Reid-Garton. And the second step goes to Dan Mould, also for Ignium Motorsport. Tom Stanley there in 3rd. Mark Draper finishes in 4th. Neil Stevenson 5th. Craig Walters manages to fend off the attentions of Lee Dye in 6th. Lee Dye does finish in 7th. And what has happened to the Browns? There is John Brown, and there is Al Brown with Carl Lukeman in between. So John Brown has gone off the road at one point or another. And it's a big look up the inside, and yeah, that's unlucky there. It was very late, carried a bit too much momentum for me, and then Al Brown at that point, he could have got out of the throttle, but it would have been very poor visibility out of the right hand side of his car, so he couldn't quite see him coming. Fraser Garrity crosses the line in 16th place, Scott Malcolm in 17th, and David Smith rounds up his night and decides to, well, Fraser Garrity evidently fuming with somebody there, flat out into the gravel trap. But there you go, that is race 1 of the night completed. Let's see what results we have for you. So it's Callum Reid-Garton taking the first win of the night, a quarter of a second clear of Mark Draper. Dan Mould has had a penalty. Dan Mould has indeed had a penalty. He's sat there in 6th place now. So Mark Draper takes to the podium. So I think has Tom Stanley. Tom Stanley has had a penalty as well. He's down in 8th place. So Callum Reid-Garton takes the first win of the evening. Mark Draper picks up 2nd place. So great stuff for Mark. And Scott Tuffy finally gets that podium he's been longing for. Only 3/10 off Callum Reid-Garton. So great stuff from Stuffy. And then it's Neil Stevenson in 4th, Lee Dye 5th, Dan Mould goes from 2nd to 6th, Derek Pocock in 7th, and Tom Stanley goes from 3rd to 8th. Then it's Scott Malcolm in 9th, Carl Lukeman rounds out your top 10, then it's John Brown in 11th, Derek Crowther 12th, Anthony Gaskin 13th, Fraser Garrity 14th, Craig Walters in 15th, Al Brown in 16th, David Smith in 17th, and Stuart Gibbons in 18th. I think Al Brown has had a penalty as well, because it surprises me that he's right there down in 16th place, and I think we do have just one more person at the bottom. No, we don't. Stuart Gibbons sat there in 18th at the bottom of the order. And that was a fairly busy race one. And we did, of course, have penalties as well to deal with. So if you've had to deal with that in race one, when we've got the top 12 reversed for race 2 of the night, it's only going to get closer. But we've got about 3 minutes left of this war, so I'm just going to go for a quick comfort break, grab myself a drink, and then we'll be back with you in just a few minutes' time. Don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 6 of the Simulation Racing Leagues TCR series. We are here at Okayama. Of course, if you missed race 1, make sure you go back and watch it at the end of the stream. It was incredibly busy. Up and down the order, we saw lots of different drivers battling each other throughout the race. We do have the feature race on the way now. So it's Al Brown on pole with Anthony Gaskin alongside. Scott Tuffy takes up third. I think possibly we were looking at the results previously. Let's have a look from Heat 1, just to make sure we did get the results correctly. No, so the results do still stand. It was CRG at the top, Dan Mould second, Tom Stanley third. Sorry about that. It decided to almost cross the grid with the results. So the results are as shown up on screen. And then for the grid of the second race, it was the results for what showed earlier. So Al Brown does take up pole position, and I do think we are about to go racing here once again at Okayama. Al Brown sat there on pole position, and we do go green here at Okayama for the final time of the evening. Not a great start for a few of the drivers. You can see everybody darting left and right, trying to avoid them. The Ignia Motorsport guys almost crossing over each other, but it's Al Brown still leading through turn 1. Anthony Gaskin there in second. Scott Tuffy takes up third. Derek Crowther in fourth, Craig Walters in fifth, does wash wide, gets a bit of a helping hand there from Derek Pocock, and Jesus, Neil Stevenson right the way up through the order. Craig Walters and Dan Mould have had an incident, and Dan Mould will not take any further part in this race as his wheel is just bouncing through the bottom of shot now. Craig Walters and Derek Pocock all returning to the pit lane. You can see them there. But we're going to have to have a look at the lead because this is Scott Tuffy going for the lead now. He's got one of the heavy hitters out of the way with, of course, Dan Mould out of the race. Here is Scott Tuffy round the outside, up into the lead goes Scott. So it's great stuff from the number 21 machine. A bit of a nudge there from Al Brown. Tom Stanley up 7 places at the moment, already into the podium positions and making inroads on Al Brown. Neil Stevenson, I said he had a good start, up 4 places. Currently in 4th place. Carl Lukeman up 6. The car looking much cleaner than it did in race 1. Then it's John Brown up 5 in 9th. Scott Malcolm up 7 places in 10th. But for the moment, it's still Scott Tuffy in the lead. I want to see what happened between Craig Walters and Dan Mould. We'll slow it down straight away. So there is Craig Walters. There is Gibbo, and there is Dan Mould. So what happened here? So there is Dan, and through the left-hander we go. It doesn't look like too much of an issue. Everybody checks up. That's why it looks like Derek Pocock tagged Craig Walters, and then in a pure avoidance, Dan Mould throws it to the right-hand side of the circuit. Can't quite see in his mirrors by the looks of it, and Gibbo was just a unlucky bystander, and the wheel of Dan Mould decides to part company with the car and continues on down the road back to the battle. So here is Fraser Garrity under pressure from now Scott Malcolm, who gets a bit of a nudge there from Callum Reid-Garton. Here is Carl Lukeman and Lee Dye side by side down the straight. You'd have thought Carl Lukeman will win this battle over because he does have the slipstream from Derek Crowther in front, but Lee Dye is holding his own on the brakes. Can he outbrake the SRL driver? No, he can't this time through, but can Carl Lukeman hanging on around the outside? The left-hander on the way, it will turn into the inside. And we've seen drivers go side by side around here all night, and they're going to add to the list. Carl Lukeman still on the inside, does keep that position. Scott Tuffy, look at that lead gap. Well, Al Brown and Tom Stanley are battling away. That's Scott Tuffy. 2.2 seconds in the good now. Right the way up the road. Tom Stanley and Al Brown still side by side. Through the penultimate corner, almost contact between the pair of them. Tom Stanley's got the inside for the penultimate and then the inside for the final corner. I don't think Al Brown can really do much about defending that one. He's now got Neil Stevenson to contend with while trying to get back past Tom Stanley. Al Brown goes defensive, trying to fend off the attentions of the Simtek car. The Simtek car goes even closer to the pit wall, then chops right the way back to tuck in behind Tom Stanley. And it's Neil Stevenson having to settle for 4th place, but for how long? Because Al Brown at the moment, he's really struggling to keep Neil Stevenson behind by the looks of it. It's managed to let the asymmetric driver of Tom Stanley break a bit of a gap. Fraser Garrity, the meat in the sandwich at the moment, almost makes contact with the front of Callum Reid-Garton, trying to go defensive. Later on the brakes, of course, he won the feature race last week. He won this exact race, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, at the Nürburgring. He's now looking to get past Mark Draper while also trying to avoid any further skirmishes with Callum Reid-Garton. Fraser Garrity on the left-hand side of your screen, almost contact with Callum Reid-Garton again. Is he going to be later on the brakes? Can't quite get past Mark Draper, but he's got to make sure he doesn't leave himself vulnerable to the attentions of CRG behind. Just up the road is Lee Dye and Carl Lukeman battling away, so it's now a little 5-car train here. John Brown further back, trying to work his way up the inside of David Smith and Scott Malcolm there now. Had an incident for Derek Pocock. I think we'll have another look back at that in a moment. You can hear a car going into the pit lane. That's Anthony Gaskin in the pit lane. There is Al Brown still just about in front of Neil Stevenson, so we'll take this time now to have a quick look to see what has happened to Derek Pocock. That car evidently not very happy. We'll have a look to see what caused that. So this was just him leaving the pit lane. That's not quite what I wanted to click on. Yeah, so he did just leave the pit lane, and then we saw the lead battle on its way. Evidently something not quite right with that car. Pulls right the way onto the grass. And and I think he's just waiting for everybody to go by. So great stuff there from Derek. Here is Neil Stevenson and Al Brown. Al Brown on the inside. And still just about managing to fend off the attentions of Neil Stevenson. So the Simtech driver, now he's going to be on the outside for the hairpin. Down the straight we go, heading towards the hairpin once again. On the brakes, who's going to be last of the late breakers if he can make that work? Neil Stevenson all the way around the outside, almost a bit of contact between Al Brown and himself. He will be the inside for the next left-hander, and position made. Great move for the podium. Al Brown ushering him through that left-hander. He has just about got the inside, but no, that is Neil Stevenson remaining in the podium places. Al Brown is once again, it's like what happened with Tom Stanley just a few laps ago. He got overtaken by Tom Stanley, and Neil Stevenson was right underneath his rear wing, and now he's managed to let Neil Stevenson by. He's got Derek Crowther just there as well, not too far back. Carl Lukeman having a much better race this time, up 7 places, and that car is looking very clean, and it's on the absolute edge of adhesion, and he's really looking to work his way up through the order. Fraser Garrity up 9 places, the privateer entry. I think he's just managed to work his way past Callum Reid-Garton, but we know what Callum's like, of course, race 1 winner of the night, looking to try and make inroads on Fraser. Scott Malcolm up 8 places, currently in 9th. Lee Dye sadly down 4 places, and that car has got a bit of damage on the front. Mark Draper has had a few back-to-back issues, so has Stuart Gibbons, and that is why Lee Dye has got damage on his car. It just fires Lee towards the road, and Mark Draper, I think he was trying to slow down to make sure that Lee Dye can get back past, but he slows down too much. Callum Reid-Garton evidently not having the patience with him and just spins him around, and then Stuart Gibbons had a little bit of an incident as well. So let's see what happened to Stuart. Through the left-hander we go. Does he touch the grass on the outside? He does. He definitely touches it on the gravel hard in towards the tyres, and while they are only tyres and they look fairly soft, that is an incredibly heavy impact, and that car will not take any further part in this race. Back up to Neil Stevenson now. He's not managed to shake the attentions of the SRL driver, Al Brown. Derek Crowther, the privateer, just sat behind, and Carl Lukeman is looking to the inside now of the 113. What can he do here? Later on the brakes, he made contact on He1, doing the same, and it's happened again. However, it looks like he might just about keep that place, and still side by side, door-to-door contact once again. The pair of them just trading a little bit of paint, as is the nature of this championship. Fraser Garrity still trying to get rid of CRG. This could be his time to strike. While Fraser is being held up very slightly by Carl Lukeman, you can see there CRG taking the initiative. Returns to his usual line, compromises his line on the way in to optimise his line back on the way out. Mark Searle in the chat, hello mate, how are you doing? But Derek Crowther still leading this little quartet. Carl Lukeman following along, looks to the inside in towards the hairpin, onto the back straight, a very crucial corner this one for keeping your position, and Carl Lukeman, he's read that beautifully. Up the inside he goes, and you can see it's Noah's Ark, 2 by 2. Carl Lukeman and Fraser Garrity on the same side of the circuit, and, well, no longer, because CRG has jumped over as well. He's looking to work his way through, 3 wide in towards the hairpin. Fraser Garrity deciding maybe that isn't the wisest idea. Does pull out of the move on Carl Lukeman, but does manage to get past Fraser Garrity, which has, of course, put that crucial gap between himself and Callum Reid-Garton. So great stuff from Fraser Garrity, now up 10 places from where he started. Scott Tuffy up at the front, 3.5 seconds clear of Tom Stanley, who's 3.5 seconds clear of Neil Stevenson, and then we work our way back to this little battle. This is, of course, the battle for 5th place. There is Al Brown in 4th, trying to chase down Neil Stevenson. Back to Carl Lukeman now. He's got that clear air. That car is looking very, very quick this race, and he's making the most of it. Fraser Garrity just behind, but now look who is back with him. Derek Crowther has lost out to the Ignium Motorsport driver of Callum Reid-Garton. And Callum is once again piling that pressure on Fraser. Wouldn't really expect nothing less. And tucked underneath the rear wing. You can't get much closer than that through there. What is Callum going to do? He's looking either way. We'll be able to see in a few moments' time what he does. We'll have a look from the roll bar. Riding on board now. You can see up through the gearbox we go. A great camera angle this one. We've managed to sort out. It's definitely there, pushing him down the straight. We'll go back to a TV camera, try and get the bigger picture. It's looking all the way around the outside, and nothing really happens that time through. And Callum Reed-Garton pulling off the circuit and more than likely returning to the pit lane. I'm not 100% sure what happened there, but down the order goes Callum Reed-Garton, so it will be a breath of fresh air for Fraser Garrity up in 6th place. Derek Crowther obviously inherits that place up into 7th. CRG has returned to the pit lane, so while he did win race 1, evidently some sort of outside commitment has taken his attention. Carl Lukeman still there in 5th place, doing what he can to defend that top 5 position. But Fraser Garrity is losing touch now, 8/10 adrift. So nothing major really, because of course you do still have that long straight with the draft, but you've got the tight, twisty technical sector 1 before that, so it's all down to the momentum you can carry through there. And for me, Carl Lukeman is just extending that margin. It's not really going to get closer, and for the first time since I think the season started, we have at least a second between every single car out there. And now once again on the brakes, Fraser Garrity much stronger on the brakes on the way in, but I think Carl Lukeman has done what he needs to do, slow in, fast out, and giving him the best opportunity onto this back straight now to defend from Fraser Garrity, but I don't even think that will be necessary. Carl possibly picking up the slight wisps of draft from Al Brown, sat there currently in 4th place. We'll look forward from Fraser Garrity's car now. You can hear him using all of the curbs up through the DSG gearbox, then back down for this very tight left hand. You've got to be careful not to be too eager on the throttle, nice and smooth on your inputs. And back through this right-hander again. 2 corners to go. 7 minutes of the race to go as well. And I was expecting it to be closer because, of course, Heat 1 is where everybody qualifies, so you're very similar on pace. And then with the feature race of the night being the full invert 12, so the top 12 finishers from race 1 get inverted for race 2, and then that forms the grid. I was expecting it to be closer with the quicker guys working their way up, but they did it very early on. Of course, Fraser Garrity up 8 places, Scott Malcolm up 9, Fraser Garrity up 10 places, Scott Malcolm up 9, Carl Lukeman up 8, Thomas Stanley up 8 as well, right the way up in 2nd place. And he's losing time to Scott Tuffy, 4.1 seconds clear is Scott now. And I've been saying since the start of the season, Scott really does deserve a good result after, of course, his season 1 performance and to the demise of his attraction. His season 2 performances haven't been that great. He's had a very unfortunate luck throughout the season, but let's hope that curse can be broken here at Okayama. Here is Fraser Garrity, there is Carl Lukeman, and more importantly, there is Al Brown. So what has happened to Al? He's had a lock up or gone deep, or something has changed. So the complexion of this battle has been completely flipped on his head. So it was about 1.2 seconds between Carl Lukeman and Al Brown, and now there's barely 0.2 of a second. 4/10 was the gap, now it's 0.2 of a second. Underneath the rear wing is Carl Lukeman, really starting to apply the pressure to his SRL teammate, and really starting to apply the paint to his rear bumper, pushing him through the penultimate corner. Then through the final corner we go. Carl Lukeman will be shouting at Al, saying, please let me by, let me go, let me go. And it seems like that is the case. Al Brown's car very slow coming out that final corner. Fraser Garrity gets him as well. And then chops across the nose does Fraser. He's looking to the outside in towards turn 1. Can't quite get the move done there, but Al Brown evidently with some sort of an issue aboard that car. But that's Carl Lukeman up into 4th place. Fraser Garrity up 11 places now into the top 5, looking to make it 12 and get into the top 4. but now, of course, he does have to keep one eye on the road in front and one eye on his rearview mirror, because there is Al Brown really starting to apply this pressure. And Carl Lukeman, you'd have thought he'd go over and assist Al Brown, but nothing is going to happen this time by Al Brown. Yeah, I thought that would have been quite a way back, about 1.5 car lengths, and once again, Al seems to have so much mid-corner speed through there. He just elbows everybody, just going, come on, pick your feet up, we need to get through here. And just a little bit of a helping hand for Fraser Garrity that time through. Scott Malcolm and Derek Crowther starting to hustle up together. Derek Crowther looking to try and defend from Scott. And then further back we've got Mark Draper trying to get past John Brown. Mark looks one way, looks the other, forces John Brown to go defensive. And a pair of them almost making contact through there. And now look at this battle here, because Carl Lukeman is still sat there in 4th place, Fraser Garrity still there in 5th, but Al Brown is bridging the gap between this lead battle and then the battle behind of Derek Crowther and Scott Malcolm. But it's still Carl Lukeman sat there in 4th place. You can see dirt being kicked up by a number of cars behind, Al Brown being one of them, so pushing the limits, trying to keep up with the duo in front, but they are slowly starting to escape. Speaking of escape, 4.7 seconds to the good now is Scott Tuffy, right up at the front of the order. Got to say, I didn't see Scott in the chat this evening. He is there. We'll have to make sure we bring him in for an interview at the end, if available. Here is Scott Malcolm now on the inside of Derek Crowther. Derek doing what he can to defend. They're still side by side on the brakes. It's going to be last of the late breakers. And this time, Scott Malcolm wins him over. And the 74 machine up into 7th place. Derek Crowther sat there in 8th. And we've got Mark Draper and John Brown still having a little bit of a ding-dong in the background. Mark Draper still stuck behind, but Carl Lukeman and Fraser Garrity nose to tail. I'm going to have a look back to Mark Draper and John Brown, because they're closer than they've really ever been. John Brown having to go defensive. Has he gone too hot in? Is he going to get that slowed down? He is. Does grab the apex. And that leaves David Smith not much of a choice. That leaves Mark Draper not much of a choice, but to sit behind for the moment. Through the penultimate corner we go. Very much a one-way affair through here. You don't want to be making any late lunges through there. There's Carl Lukeman. Still under pressure from Fraser Garrity. We're going to get another 2 laps out of this race. Still Carl Lukeman sat there in 4th. And this is where Fraser Garrity has got to be really careful. He's got to make sure that he makes the most of all of the tools available to him. Of course, with it being a fixed setup, everybody is working with the same piece of machinery. It's all down to driver skill. And in this case, I think for Fraser Garrity, driver patience. He's got to make sure when he goes for this move, it's decisive, and he does now. That's a great cutback, but it is the outside. What a move for Fraser Garrity, all the way around the outside. Goes a long way around Carl Lukeman. We've got to have another look at that. You can see here, Carl Lukeman goes very late on the brakes. I said Fraser Garrity has got to be patient. Proves me wrong. Gets the best cutback ever. And then on the brakes, down the hill, position somewhat secure. While he has got past, passing is one thing, he's then got to make sure he can escape, because Carl Lukeman is not going to let him get away with that one. That was a great move, and if I was Carl, I'd be furious that I've let him do it. In the background, we've got Al Brown under pressure from Scott Malcolm. I'll bring the gains up on the left-hand side so you can see who has gained what. Scott Malcolm, who we're looking at the moment, has gained 10, looking to make it 11 around the outside at turn 1. You've got to be brave. You've got to brake a lot later and try and carry the momentum. That time through isn't as good. But Fraser Garrity and Carl Lukeman still nose to tail. While they have swapped places, the action has not gone away. Still, Fraser Garrity sat there trying to defend, or do what he can to defend. from Carl Lukeman. Onto the back straight we go once again. This will be the final lap, so if the pair of them don't change position this time through, we'll have to go and have a look up at Scott Tuffy. And here is Scott now, heading through the final sector. It's been a great race for him. He's worked his way through the pack, did what he had to do to stay clean, and that's all, literally all he had to do. Stayed clean and then punch in these quick and consistent lap times, and it has worked for him well and truly. Now heading towards the final couple of corners, and I am so glad to say it, Scott Tuffy is going to cross the line in first place after an unfortunate few rounds at the start of the season. You can see he's overjoyed with that one, weaving from side to side, flashing the lights. The number 21 machine, Scott Tuffy, does take the final race here this evening. To the top step of the podium is the privateer driver, Tom Stanley, with another great performance. He was on the podium in last round's feature race, a third at Nürburgring, follows it up with a second here at Okayama, and Neil Stevenson rounds out your podium. Fraser Garrity crosses the line in fourth place after a hard-fought fourth, well and truly, with Carl Lukeman. Al Brown loses out to Scott Malcolm at the line. I do want to see how close this battle was. This is a little too far back. I didn't quite want to go this far back. We'll see whether we can see it here. So Scott Malcolm's through the final call, through the final sector. We'll see whether we can get any closer. Here we go, through the final corner this time by Al Brown. It looks like that is somewhat secured. Pulls over to the right-hand side of the circuit, possibly trying to defend, maybe not realising it's the final lap of the race. And you can see Scott Malcolm just out-drags him to the line. And Al Brown left without much to do. But that was a great race by all accounts. We will get the results up on screen for you now. And we will go over the Heat 1 results as well, of course, because I made a bit of a hash of that. Scott Tuffy takes the win. I'm so glad he's managed to get to the top step of the podium in Season 2. Tom Stanley in second, and Neil Stevenson rounds out your podium. Fraser Garrity in fourth, Carl Lukeman in fifth. Great battle between the pair of them throughout the race. Scott Malcolm just pips Al Brown to sixth. Al Brown there in seventh. Derek Crowther in eighth. Lee Dye in ninth. Mark Draper rounds out your top 10. Then it's John Brown 11th. David Smith 12th. Callum Reed-Garton in 13th. Dan Mould 14th. Stuart Gibbons 15th. And then it's Anthony Gaskin, Derek Pocock, Craig Walters in 16th, 17th and 18th. And we will have a look at the Heat 1 results just because I didn't quite manage to get them how I wanted them. But it is Callum Reed-Garton that took the win in Heat 1. Dan Mould took second. Tom Stanley rounded out the podium. So very good night for Tom. Of course, podium in Heat 1 and another podium in Heat 2. Great haul of points for himself and asymmetric. Mark Draper took fourth in Heat 1 with Neil Stevenson in fifth. Craig Walters sixth. Lee Dye seventh. Derek Pocock eighth. Derek Crowther 9th, and Scott Tuffy rounded out your top 10. Then the rest of the grid was made up by Anthony Gaskin, Al Brown, Carl Lukeman, John Brown, Stuart Gibbons, Fraser Garrity, Scott Malcolm and David Smith in 18th place. So 2 great races we were treated to tonight, and I'm sure there will be more on the way throughout the season. But now surely it is time to get some of the drivers in for an interview. We will see who we can pick up, and let's hope that we end up with a couple. Nobody sat in the interview waiting room as of yet. Usually we will see them on their way. I'd have thought Scott Tuffy would have been one of the first in here, but annoyingly nobody has jumped in. So we'll just give it a few minutes, but if you are still in chat and you were watching that race, please do let me know what your favourite parts of that was. We do have a couple of drivers coming in. We've got to speak to him. Callum Reed-Garton, welcome to the commentary box after what was a standout performance in Heat 1. What happened in Heat 2?
You know what, mate? My VR died.
Is that what it was?
Bro, I was gutted.
Oh, I'd have been fuming. We saw you pull off to the side of the road, and we thought,
yeah,
oh, okay, I didn't see you have any damage or anything like that, but that's just one of those things. Almost a hardware failure is somewhat like a mechanical failure. So, well, it is annoying. It's just one of those things you've got to deal with. But where do you think you might have ended up having not had that issue?
I don't know. I was having a dead good race. I had a wicked start in race 2. And then I got collected, like, I think was it on turn 3? got collected, and then that kind of ruined my start, and then working my way up the order. And I sat behind Fraser for a while, and that was quite fun watching them lot like all battle it out. I was pushing Fraser down the straight at one stage, which was quite funny.
Yeah, we did
But,
see you. We were riding on board at that point. When you did
that's when I went off, I think, when
Yeah.
my VR died.
Yeah,
But yeah, well done to him. He had a well good race. Like I think what was it, 12 positions he went up.
Yeah, up into
Yeah,
fourth place.
he had a great race. But yeah, it was quite good. Scott almost murdered me. But yeah, it was fun until my VR died. But yeah, it was decent.
I've got to say, we were enjoying watching you try and work your way up through the order. Fraser Garrity has really just found another gear. These past couple of rounds, of course, winning the feature race at Nürburgring and finishing fourth tonight, up 12 places. Like I say, really good result for himself. But not to take away from your Heat 1, of course, being joined on the podium by your teammate Dan. It all fell apart in Heat 2. You finished, first and second in Heat 1 and 13th and 14th in Heat 2. I'm not sure whether the championship is necessarily something you think about with points. I know a lot of the drivers just rock up and go, I'm here for a laugh. If I get points, great. If I don't, I wouldn't know either way. What's your perspective on that? And if you do look to the points, how do you think this is going to leave you into the next round?
I don't know really. It's gonna be. I'll try I'll turn up each race, see how it goes. I don't know what it is, but me in race 2, we just don't get on, bro. It just doesn't work for me. But in terms of the championship, I'm not really fun. I'm here to have fun at the end of the day. Everybody else has fun as well. Everyone's laughing and giggling in the chat and stuff. It's great. I mean, championship, yeah, it'd be nice to win it, but that's far from achievable, I think, at where I am in the standings at the minute. But for everybody else, just turn up, have fun, have a laugh, on to the next race. Do you know what I mean? It's quite good. And Fraser as well, he's improved massively since season 1. Towards the end of season 1, he's had new hardware. Fair play to him. He's doing really well. He's committed himself a lot to sim racing recently, so it's starting to show as well. So fair play to him.
Absolutely, it's been great to see not just Fraser's but everybody's progression. So of course everybody gets used to everybody else's driving style, and of course you're getting used to the car, and can see that you can see the confidence. Of course, you just sat there nosing everybody around, pushing Fraser down the straight. I think on the replay we are actually looking at you do just that at the moment, and we'll see whether we can get a nose shot of that. Yeah, we are watching you. We are currently watching you push pretty much Fraser Garrity down the straight, but. Once again, well done on your Heat 1 win tonight. Let's hope for better luck in the feature race next time out at Alton Park. But before we let you go, anybody would like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thank you to SRL Ignium, as well as you, Jack, for commentating every 2 weeks. It's really nice to watch back as well, and it's just a great little community we've got. So thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Take care, mate. Bye bye.
Callum Reed Garton there. Great little character to have in the commentary box. So unlucky that his VR died of all things, but like we say, it's a hardware issue. It's very much like a mechanical failure. And I wanted to bring him in last, but I also don't want him to go, oh well, he's not bringing me in and leave. Scott Tuffy, welcome to the commentary box. You've done it.
Hey, Jazz again.
You've done it. You've won. Well done.
I know it's been a long time coming. I'd just like to thank my girlfriends, everyone who supported me through this. It's been a very, very long time coming. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. But yeah, it was quite uneventful, thankfully.
Oh, it was eventful was definitely the right word. We've watched you throughout the season, of course, and it's not necessarily been much, if any, of your fault. It's just been little things here and there that, the slightest of mistakes cost you so much. And I think that's just the nature of the championship, because you don't just lose one place. If you've lost one, there's going to be more coming through. And I think that is just what has bitten you here, there, and everywhere throughout the season. But let's hope this momentum can carry on. So well done for that, of course. But 2 weeks time, we go to Alton Park. It's the international layout without the Hislop chicane. A circuit you like, a circuit you hate, a circuit you know even is what's your outlook on that one?
Last season didn't go too well. I was shockingly bad, but that was mainly because I didn't do any practice, and I don't spend other than this series. I don't really spend any time in this car. it is. I do have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. Some tracks suit me, some tracks don't. But Alton Park without the chicane, I didn't know it was without the chicane. I do much prefer that layout. The F3 series was round there not too long, a few weeks ago, and I really enjoyed it. And it's a great track. It is a tight track. As you know, with these cars, it's very difficult to overtake. You do have to kind of send it, which I discovered obviously with Neil on the first lap, I think it was, of the first race, and obviously unfortunately I lost it. But hopefully carry on some momentum and just cut out those mistakes. I have, of course, I had a couple of niggles with people where I've been caught up in incidents, but mainly I'm always my own worst enemy, and it's driver error. That was what the first race was. I just overshot the corner, got wired, and spun it. And unfortunately, the way that it's like a long hairpin, normally you can save these cars with being front wheel drive, but just ended up facing the wrong way. But thankfully the second race, finally ticked the box. So looking forward to it. Moving on.
Yeah, it's absolutely mega that you got. To be honest, I put my word in for you, and then almost left you alone, because the last thing I wanted to do, get a bit of commentator's curse on you, and there you go. But of course, well done for that one. Okayama going into it, typical slippery Spanish tarmac. Spanish, other side of the world, Jack. Japanese tarmac. That's what I was supposed to say. Yeah, the Japanese tarmac. A circuit that is very popular within the rookie series and not necessarily in the slightly higher up series. What was your perspective going into this one? Was it more get it done and out of the way, or is it? Well, I'm sure now it's I love this circuit, but what was it going in? What was your perspective going into it?
I've always liked Okayama. It's a technical track. The first sector's like really kind of quick and flowing. Obviously the first corner can quite easily catch you out, and then you have the slow technical last sector. But I actually really quite like it. And of course, as everyone knows it from starting out on the rookies, is where you pretty much is where my first ever race on iRacing was. But I did a bit of practice this evening before coming on, and obviously, as always, looking at the practice times, I knew I'd be in the thick of it. It was very close, and obviously a shame I couldn't battle it out in the first race, because I reckon I could have had a good fight with the boys up front. But made up for it in the second one. So onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Well and truly. Well, we can only hope for that. But once again, another massive well done for tonight. Like you say, it's been a long time coming. It's great to see you on the top step of the podium. But before we let you go, anybody more or anybody else you'd like to thank or shout out while you're live?
Just the usual suspects, of course. Dan, Al, obviously for putting it together and for actually getting the standing start right this week. So big round of applause to Al for that. Well done, mate. And as always, yourself, Jack, for obviously commentating. Great commentary as always. So thanks.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box once again. Another well done for tonight, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Alton Park.
Thanks, Jack.
See ya. That was Scott Tuffy there. Great lad. Great to see him on the top step of the podium. He runs a YouTube channel himself, so make sure you go check that out. It is just Stuffy. So make sure you, like I say, you do go check that one out. One more person to bring into the commentary box, Tom Stanley. Welcome into the comms box. It's been a good couple of races for you over this section of the season. Of course, P3 at the feature race at Nürburgring, and then P3 in Heat 1 tonight, P2 in the feature race. It's all going your way, mate.
It is, but I was very lucky in race 2 where I think coming out of turn 2, there was a car spinning that just missed me, and then going into turn 3 or 4, wherever that hairpin is, I was so close of losing control, but managed to slide through that.
I've got to say, it did look very eventful in the first couple of sections of the race, but it's a somewhat of a typical performance from you. You keep it clean, keep it out of the way, and it's not necessarily getting those wins. It'll be great to see you on the top step of the podium, so please set that as your target for Alton Park. But I've got to say, it's just been consistent from you, and that tends to be what wins championships. Of course, we saw Dan Mould P2 in Heat 1, but he retired from the feature race. But you've scored solid points in both races, so whether the championship is or isn't something you think about, either way, you've scored good points.
Yeah, it's been a really good result for the last couple of races. Again, I'm not really worried about the championship. I've already missed 2 full rounds of racing, so I don't look at the championship table because they don't have both drop rounds yet. So I'm just racing for the sake of racing, and yeah, it's just been my racecraft is very high with past experience in different leagues, and I need to really improve my quality effort, because if I can get a good quality time in, I'm surely be able to fight for the win. Otherwise, I'm just fighting through cars and losing time.
Well, it seems like no matter where you end up, it's just like onward and upward from there. And of course, it's just the nature of this championship that everybody's going to be really condensed together. Not only in Heat 1, of course, but in the feature race with the invert 12, so that the top 12 reversed. Okayama, there's skinny parts of the circuit and very wide parts of the circuit, but Alton Park is coming up. It's at round 7, so 2 weeks away. It's all one sort of width, and you struggle to go too wide anywhere around there. If you're going to make a move, it's got to be very precise and almost committed at that point. Is that a circuit you're looking forward to? Talk us through what you think is going to be in store for us at round 7.
The thing is, I don't really focus on the next track. Like, the first time I practiced was jumping in this session tonight, so I should redo more practice now that I'm doing decently. But for Alton Park, yes, it's a very tight-end, twisty track. You need to have really good momentum coming from the last corner or the corner prior to get a good overtake move. It depends what layout it is. But Alton Park is a really good touring car track, so regardless of where I finish, I think it'll be a good race regardless.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing how that plays out. And once again, another well done for not only 2 great results tonight, but of course the great week you had at Nürburgring. And yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Alton Park. But before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
But not really, Jack, because I'm now running an independent. I'm not running with asymmetric no more. So just thank you for putting the broadcast on, and thanks to the organisers for producing some great racing.
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary box, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Alton Park.
No worries. Take care, Jack.
Bye-bye. That was Tom Stanley there. Another great character to always have in the commentary box, and you could hear there he's running as a privateer now. Not that he had a teammate to assist him, but it's just been a great couple of races for him, back-to-back podiums tonight, and of course a podium to round out the night at Nürburgring 2 weeks ago. So great stuff from himself. But annoyingly, it's that time of the night already. We've got to say goodbye, and doesn't seem like we've been streaming for long, but 1.5 hours has just absolutely flown by. So thank you very much for joining myself, Jack Werrell, in the commentary box. This has been round 6 of the SRL TCR series at Okayama. 2 weeks' time, put it in your diaries. We head to Alton Park for round 7. Have a good night. Bye-bye.